chosen one, you are stepping into a moment that feels almost accidental, yet something in you knows it is anything but ordinary. The message approaching you does not rise from coincidence, luck, or random timing. It feels as if a quiet stirring has been following your steps, watching the weight you carry, noticing the questions you never speak aloud. And now, almost like a gentle whisper cutting through the noise, a call begins to form. Not loud, not forceful, but unmistakably real. The ancient words, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" From Isaiah 43:19 seem to echo through the moment, urging you to lean in, to pay attention, to wonder what God might be unfolding just beyond what you can see. Something in the spiritual atmosphere presses forward, inviting you out of stillness and into motion, as if heaven has tapped your shoulder not to startle you but to awaken you. This tap is not about speed or perfection, but alignment. It asks for awareness, not certainty, and for movement, not mastery. You may not understand every step ahead, yet even Scripture reflects that tension. People were often called before they felt ready, guided before they saw the whole path. The original message urged, "This is your divine summons." And while the language feels weighty, its heart is simple. Pay attention. There is meaning here. There is purpose in the shift you sense. As you lean closer, curiosity rises. Why now? Why you? Why this sudden pull deeper? These questions are not signs of weakness, but signs that something sacred is taking shape. You are invited into a journey that asks for openness rather than certainty. A journey that honors endurance over hurry. A journey that does not promise ease, yet carries the quiet assurance that you do not walk it alone. So stay near. Do not rush past this moment. If your heart stirs, let it stir. If your spirit leans forward, let it listen. You were told in the original message, you've been chosen. Now you've been tapped, and while the mystery remains, the invitation stands. Slow down, breathe, and step with curiosity. Something meaningful is beginning to unfold. Let's go deeper. There are moments when God touches a person's spirit in ways that feel quiet yet unmistakable, moments that seem to press gently against the edges of your inner world until you realize something sacred is happening. The original word said, "The tap you feel is not a suggestion, it is a summons." And that sense of holy interruption becomes even more stirring when you remember passages like Jeremiah 1:5, where God whispers, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." It creates a hunger to understand what kind of purpose could be woven into a life long before that life understood itself. When Hebrews 12:1 urges us to run with endurance the race set before us, it subtly invites us to imagine that our journey is not chaotic or accidental, but crafted with intention, shaped with steps that belong uniquely to us. And perhaps that is why the moments of struggle, delay, or confusion linger in memory. They are not wasted seasons, but quiet classrooms. The original message declared, "Every disappointment strengthened you. Every delay refined you." And when you place those words beside Psalm 139:16, which says that all your days were written before one of them came to be, something inside begins to wonder if even the difficult chapters were forming a deeper resilience. The stirring within you may feel like tension, but it might be awakening, the gentle rise of purpose tapping on the walls of your spirit. It does not force, it invites. It draws you out of hiding and into clarity, reminding you that the race before you is not about outrunning others, but about aligning with the one who authored the path. The shift you sense is not imaginary, it is the echo of being called into motion, a nudge to lift your eyes and move with intention. You may not see the full map, yet something in you recognizes the direction. The original message affirmed, your feet are being strengthened, your vision is being sharpened, and that thought leaves you wondering what chapter heaven is preparing to unfold next. Whatever it is, the awakening has already begun, the tap has already sounded, and your destiny is ready for your arrival. Every like, share, and comment on the Light of Faith helps spread the light of Christ across the world. Not all races are sprints, and something in that truth feels strangely comforting, as if God Himself understands the slow, stretching journey of the human soul. When the original words said, "Your race requires endurance, focus, and faith," they quietly echoed a reality that Scripture has repeated for generations. Even Paul recognized this when he wrote in 1 Corinthians 9:26, "I do not run aimlessly," hinting that the life of faith is not random wandering but intentional movement shaped by God's unseen hand. This idea invites you to look closer at your own path, not with pressure but with curiosity. What if the delays you felt were not failures but pacing? What if the weight you carried was not punishment but preparation? The message said, every distraction you remove sharpens your clarity, and when read alongside Psalm 119 verse 105, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. You begin to sense that clarity does not always arrive in a flash of revelation. Sometimes it comes step by step, a lamp glow rather than a sunrise, teaching you to trust, even when your emotions shift like the wind. You were told that endurance is the quiet resolve that says, I will not quit. And that kind of resolve often forms in the hidden places where you walk through fear, regret, or doubt. Yet, Scripture never shames the slow walker. Instead, Isaiah 40:31 whispers that those who hope in the Lord shall run and not be weary, not because they force their pace, but because they lean into divine strength when their own runs thin. As the original message said, you are walking a path heaven designed long before you were born. A thought that stirs when you read in Ephesians 2:10 that you are God's workmanship, created for good works, prepared in advance. Suddenly, the ordinary moments of your life feel less ordinary. The missteps, the pauses, the confusing seasons, all of them begin to look like threads of a larger design. And if God is truly strengthening your feet, stabilizing your steps, and lighting your path, then perhaps the pressure to have every answer dissolves a little. You were reminded that the tap you feel is not random, and that aligns with Proverbs 3:6. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Maybe the internal stirring you sense is not restlessness but alignment, a gentle invitation into a new chapter you do not yet fully understand. The text said, every movement in your spirit is a signal that heaven's blueprint is unfolding. And though the blueprint remains hidden, you can almost feel its presence, pressing quietly against the edges of your awareness. What once looked like resistance now resembles refinement, the shaping of someone who is meant to carry more wisdom, more steadiness, more clarity than before. And when uncertainty rises, instead of interpreting it as abandonment, you can see it as a sign of guidance, the way God sometimes redirects without announcing every detail. The message insisted, "Your race is prophetic," and while that word may feel strong, it simply means your life has meaning beyond the moment. Your choices echo, your endurance matters, your quiet faith influences more than you realize. Heaven has been anticipating your awakening, your growth, your transformation. That is why the stirring inside you feels so persistent. You are stepping into divine alignment, not because you forced it, but because every twist in your path, every moment of courage, confusion, or waiting has been shaping you for this stage of the journey. Your entire journey has moved you to this moment of alignment. Preparation is essential spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yet few people pause long enough to wonder why Scripture places so much emphasis on the inner life. The original words reminded you that preparation is not an event but a lifestyle, and that truth becomes even more striking when held beside James 1:22, which urges believers to be doers of the word and not hearers only. It hints that transformation begins quietly, beneath the surface, long before any outward change is visible. When you position yourself to respond to a tap of heaven, you begin to sense that growth is not rushed, and that God often shapes the unseen foundations before He leads you into demanding seasons. Romans 12:2 spoke of renewing the mind, and that renewal becomes a kind of spiritual training ground where prayer, scripture, and discipline meet. The message said, "Prayer fuels your spirit." And that aligns naturally with Philippians 4:6-7, where Paul points to prayer as the place where anxious thoughts are exchanged for peace that surpasses all understanding. Prayer becomes calibration, not performance, a way of tuning your inner ear to the steady rhythm of God's voice. Scripture then becomes your compass. The original text called it divine architecture, and when you consider passages like Joshua 1:8, which encourages meditating on the word day and night, you start noticing that Scripture was never meant to be a distant reference book, but the living map guiding weary runners. As preparation deepens, the people around you begin to matter as well. Iron sharpens iron appeared in the message, echoing Proverbs 27:17, a reminder that community forms and shapes character in ways solitude never could. Fellowship, then, is not social activity but spiritual reinforcement, a place where endurance is strengthened and vision is clarified. The text said, "Destiny requires sharp company," and it is true. Those who walk with you inevitably shape your pace, posture, and direction. Discipline enters next, forming the quiet structure that holds your purpose in place. Hebrews 12:11 acknowledges that discipline feels unpleasant in the moment, yet produces a harvest of righteousness for those trained by it. That is why personal habits matter, why private integrity becomes public strength, why unseen obedience becomes the backbone of endurance. You were told that stability sustains the speed required for the race ahead, and that kind of stability is not gifted but grown over time. All of this, the prayer, the scripture, the community, the discipline, works together like an intricate training ground, forming a life able to withstand pressure without collapsing. Heaven is not demanding perfection from you, it is shaping capacity within you. The original message ended with the assurance that heaven is shaping you to be unstoppable. And while those words do not guarantee outcomes, they invite you to see preparation as sacred, purposeful, and deeply connected to the God who strengthens those who seek Him.